So today I was asked to speak on this topic of how spiritual practices can help in our day-to-day life as well as in our academics, as you are, all of you are students. So we'll start with Mangalacharan. I hope my voice is clear and audible. In
Yes,
sometimes I am here in Vrindavan now, and sometimes the internet connection is poor, especially in the evenings. So in case if there is any interruption, then you can just wait and it automatically gets all right. Otherwise, you let me know if you are not hearing me clearly. So I will pause and restart or whatever is needed. We'll do the needful. So we will start with short prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyev cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Yiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for coming together to be part of this wonderful session. So I am very happy to see all of you. There was a time when Srila Prabhupada was on this planet and he was spreading this Hare Krishna movement all over the world. And he asked his disciples that every year, wherever they are, they all should come together to Mayapur and to Vrindavan. Minimum once, and better if they come twice a year. Once during Gaur Purnima and second during Kartik time. This is what he suggested to most of his disciples. So some of them, because they were all very young, like many of you, and they were very enthusiastic, fired up, preaching all over the places, and the movement was spreading like anything. So many of them, they came to Prabhupada and told that, Shri Prabhupada, see, it takes a lot of time to go to Vrindavan and Mayapur, and it also requires a lot of money. And during that period, our preaching activities are affected here. because many of us will go to Vrindavan, then who is going to preach here? So if we just continue preaching, then that will save money also, and we can do more preaching activities, which normally those who are not very intelligent, they will think like that. But then Srila Prabhupada replied that it's just like if you have a vehicle and you are driving, so you have to stop and refuel it. If you don't do it, don't do that, then at some point it's going to come to a stop. So refueling is required. So when you all go to Vrindavan and Mayapur and be together in the holy dham, that is when you rejuvenate. You fill yourself with a lot of spiritual energy. Because the whole purpose of coming together to Vrindavan dham for yatra, being in the association of devotees, hearing Krishna Katha, visiting holy places, that fills one with a lot of spiritual energy. So that will be sufficient for you to continue for many more months. And again, you come, like that Srila Prabhupada told them. So in order to be able to continue the preaching activities, it was required to take a break and refuel. Similarly, if we see in our daily lives, so that was for a long period of time. The same analogy, the same example, we can relate to with what we do on a day-to-day basis. Daily, if we are all working, say you are all studying, doing your homework, assignments, attending classes and labs, and many other things. And that is why you are there in IIT Kanpur. But you also need to take a break, and you have to go for sleep for 6 to 8 hours, whatever you need. You also need to go to take bath and fresh up. You also need some kind of little relaxed sports or yoga or exercise to keep yourself physically fit. Probably you also need some little walk or just like staying outside to get fresh air. So a number of other things that we also need to do to keep our body physically fit, to be able to do our main activity for the purpose for which you are all there in IIT Kanpur, right? So, so this example is very similar to what Srila Prabhupada told them. So when we take a break, we take sufficient rest, we have sufficient food. During that time, we can't study. So someone may say, why to sleep? If we continue to study for more hours, we waste our time sleeping 7 hours. Why not just study more? Will that be feasible? How long you can stretch? Maybe one day without sleep, and then we'll be totally exhausted. And if we don't take care, then we may fall sick also. So in order to be able to continue our academics in a healthy and steady manner over a long period of time, it is required to take a break and rejuvenate ourselves, to get sufficiently rested, to take baths, and many other things, take proper food. So all these things we need to do to keep our body physically fit in a state so that we can study. Now the same thing, if we extend it a little further, all these activities that we discussed, they are helpful in keeping our body fit. But we all have been hearing that we are not just our body, we are much more than our body. We also have mind, we have brain, we have intelligence, we also have consciousness. So what do we need to do to keep our consciousness clean? What do we need to do to keep our mind healthy? Our intelligence very clear. Do we need to think about these questions? These are some of the questions that we should ask ourselves. There are plenty of things that society proposes and offers to keep the body fit. You have gym also, gymkhana, sports activities, so many options are there in IIT Kanpur to keep our body fit. We also have health center and a beautiful campus, of course, where you can walk and relax, and a lot of greenery, especially during this time of the year. So many things are there, but if we do a little bit of thinking, most of these things are meant to keep our body fit. But once we understand that we are not only this body, of course, we have a relation with this body and we need to keep this body fit, no doubt about it. Because without keeping the body fit, we can't do anything. Health is the first thing. Physical health is the first thing that we need to take care of. But that is not the only thing that we need to take care of. There are many things that we need to do. We have our mind, we have our intelligence, we have our consciousness, which is the most important thing. Consciousness is a symptom of the soul. So what do we need to do to keep that fit? Because if our consciousness is not proper, if our mind is not healthy, then we go through so much of stress, so much of anxiety, which is unnecessary, because we can't take the pressure. We succumb to so many undesirable things in our mind, and they all are going to ultimately affect what other things we need to do. In order to have a proper study also, we need to be in good mind, a proper frame of mind where we can focus, we can be absorbed, be free from distractions. So there are some questions coming on the chat box. We will definitely take that towards the end of the class. But if you have anything, feel free to post it there. So first, I'm just trying to give you some food for thought so that we understand the importance of a spiritual life. Sometimes it may be very tempting and mind may suggest, hey, why waste 1 hour for this such type of classes and chanting? What are we getting after all? Yeah, if we do our homework, assignments, and do some extra, solve 10 extra problems, there is some tangible result that we are getting there, right? If we 2 hours, we sit down and solve 20 problems. So before there's 2 hours, we had not understood that concept. Now we understand this concept very clearly. So there is clearly a change, clearly something that has been achieved in these 2 hours. And now someone may say, oh, you went there, you did chanting, you read Bhagavad Gita, 1 shloka. What is the change? What have you achieved after all? So it may not be comparable, or one may not be able to see the result of this activity, as you can see, in a very tangible manner, in a very gross manner, in solving 20 problems in 2 hours. So that is why sometimes we feel like, oh, what is the importance of these activities? But the impact of these activities is that it's a very consistent and gradual process that helps us clear our consciousness, keeps our consciousness clean. And that will ultimately, because that has a connection with the mind and the intelligence, that will help give us the clarity of thought, clarity of purpose. So many other subtle things that will develop in us, subtle qualities will develop in us by this process. So this the whole idea of gross and subtle that we need to understand. The body is very gross, and most of the education that we have is very gross, dealing with very gross objects, gross things. But life is not just about gross matter. There are a lot more things in life that are very subtle. So how do we nurture them? How do we nourish them? How to take care of them? Because without that, then our life we become just like machines. And when they will live a life where we all the time live in anxiety, under pressure, and so much of other unwanted things that come. So this gross and subtle, when we understand, like the soul is very subtle, the consciousness is very subtle, the physical body is very gross. So our whole existence is made up of both. There is a gross aspect as well as subtle aspect. So in order to take care of the subtle aspect, there are many processes that have been prescribed. And here in this group that we have been associating with, we have been learning about certain processes. So in this age, the primary process is to chant the holy name and to hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to come in the association of devotees, associate with them. So these activities give us a lot of strength, insight. It's a very what do you say? It's a journey that we are on, and that as we grow, it takes time, because we don't see the change every day. We will see some change over a period of time with this process, but we don't see it every day. Just like, but you may see something like you see a change in your academics every day, because you solve some 20 problems. You can say, yesterday I had done up to chapter number 3. Today I have completed chapter number 4. Tomorrow I have completed chapter number 5. I have completed something. Here, you can of course have that. If you are reading Bhagavad Gita verse by verse, you have been going. So you can also see that kind of change in terms of how much you have studied, how many lectures you have heard. But it's not the only thing. There is also a change happening within as we are growing. Every day there is a change that's happening within us. We may not realize it every day. We may not be able to measure it every day. But if you compare it over a period of time, for example, you look at what were your thought process, your consciousness before you came to Krishna consciousness, and what is it now? And even in between at certain points, there may have been many things that may have changed. I can guarantee that. Many things you may have never thought about, now you must be thinking about. Many other ideas that, like, there is a situation in front of you, Now you will be able to look at that situation from many other angles, which normally you may not look at, or other students who are not studying Bhagavad Gita or not associating, they may not look at that particular topic from that angle. But you get that food for thought. So you have a vision with which you see things. The vision is changing. The thought process is changing. And it's for good to make us a better human being, better person. And in the heart, a lot of cleaning is already happening day by day. Every day, there is a change. Though it may not be measurable every day, there is no instrument to see that every day. Okay, yesterday I chanted 10 rounds. What change has happened in my heart? But change has definitely taken place. So every day there is a change that is happening. So if we continue on this path, gradually change is happening every day. That we must know. We should not think that, oh, okay, what is the use? What is the benefit? So that faith is required. See, in the association of devotees, we find it. The devotees get together, they chant. Now you meet people of the world, you see how dirty their hearts are. You can see the students, other students. So much of unwanted things. It's there in everybody's heart, in my heart, in your heart, everybody's heart. And that's the whole purpose of our existence here, to cleanse the heart. What are we doing to do that? In our heart, we have lust, we have anger, we have greed, we have envy, we have pride. All these unwanted things are there in our heart. It's not very difficult to know that these things are lurking in our heart. So what are we doing to cleanse that? While all these things are present in our heart, how can I live a happy life? It will not be possible. No matter how much wealth I get, no matter how many degrees I get, no matter how big position I get, no matter how many big houses I have, how many cars I have, as long as my heart is filled with such type of things, I cannot be happy. Real happiness comes from within. Once the heart is cleansed, automatically the joy comes. And to the degree the heart gets cleansed, to that degree we can experience happiness. So what is the process to cleanse the heart from such kind of unwanted things? If I have understood and want to do that, then I will have determination to follow the process. So this clarity of understanding is required, that why do we practice spiritual life? So I can say it's in two ways. One is because this is going to keep our mind, our intelligence, our consciousness very clean and healthy. So that in turn is going to help us have more focus, more absorption, more determination in our studies. Means basically less distractions. It's not always the number of hours we study, it's also the quality of our study. If we sit for 3 hours, but our mind is everywhere, and we have a lot of distractions, phone ringing, this ringing, that person calling, this thought coming to mind. In 3 hours, I won't achieve much. But I am very much absorbed in what I'm doing. then I can get a lot done in those 3 hours. So to keep our mind free from distractions, that is a big problem nowadays. So to have this clear consciousness where I am have good heart, so that I can do other things nicely. That is one aspect of practicing a spiritual life. And second aspect is, of course, growing in our spiritual journey. Day by day, we are growing. So it's going to help us in both ways. So we grow and we will be, it's not something that we can't measure, we can't check. We can definitely check, but we may not be able to do that on every day-to-day basis. But if we look at over an extended period of time, we can definitely see a significant amount of change in our thought process, in our heart, in our consciousness, in our dealings, in our habits, in our character. Everywhere a change happens with this process. And there are so many proofs, so many devotees who have been following, you can see the change in their lives compared to how other people behave, how other people deal with what they think. So this is very, very essential. It's a wonderful opportunity to live our life in a meaningful manner, where we continue with what we have to do with our worldly activities, whether be it academics, be it a job, be it some kind of a social service, whatever we do, and also growing in our consciousness, coming closer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is our real goal of life. Day by day, we are inching towards Him. We are following the process. So with this understanding, we should resolve to, sometimes our mind may say so many things. Mind is something very tricky. It gives so many arguments to do this, do not do this. What is the need? This kind of things will come. But that is where we have to use our intelligence, because we have understood that this is the process because of these reasons. So we say, mind, oh, you don't disturb me now. I know that this is the right thing to do, so I continue. And then mind stops. So mind can be controlled with intelligence. But that will only happen if I have a clear intelligence. Proper understanding of the whole principles of life, the principles of spiritual life and material life both. When I have that clarity, then with that clarity, I can control my mind. But if the clarity is not there, then it will be difficult to control. Then we get swayed by what mind says. So taking a little bit of time out from our daily activities, just like sleeping is essential, just like eating is essential, just like going to washroom many times a day is essential, just like doing sports and exercise, yoga, various other fitness activities is essential. Sometimes cutting some jokes with friends is essential to keep ourselves in a lighter mood. Some recreation is essential. Similarly, practice of spiritual life is also essential to keep our life very balanced in all aspects of our existence. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yuktahar Viharascha. That verse is there, I think, in 6th chapter. Let me just read that out. 6.17. Yuktahar Viharasya Yukta Tasya Karmasu युक्त स्वप्नावबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः। जो खाने, सोने, आमोद प्रमोद तथा काम करने की आदतों में नियमित रहता है, वह योगाभ्यास द्वारा समस्त भौतिक क्लेशों को नष्ट कर सकता है. So Lord Krishna is saying that one should be regulated in one's habits of eating, sleeping, recreation and work. So a proper balance is required. Regulated in everything means one should know how much to engage in a certain activity. Sleeping is there, but too much sleeping is also not good. Too less sleeping is also not good. So one should have a balanced duration of sleeping, and also the quality of sleep, and so many things are there. Coming to eating, too much eating is also not good. Too less eating is also not good. And then also whatever we eat, at certain time we have to eat, not that all the time we are eating. The quality of eating, the food, so many things to do before eating, after eating, everything is important. So that is called regulation. Means we follow a lot of rules and regulation around eating. We follow a lot of rules and regulations around sleeping. Similarly in recreation. So all that is essential to keep ourselves in a proper state where we can practice our spiritual life and as well as we can perform our worldly duties. So I think it's already 8:06 and there are a few questions on the chat box. So let me go one by one. Okay, so those questions are also coming on the screen. The first one was, okay, some questions have come directly to me, so which may not be there on the chat box for everyone to see. So I will just read and then go through that. So there's one question which says how to keep our body fit while staying at home where we don't have access to such facilities, don't have a positive environment for doing anything like studies, please suggest. So yes, in this world, we will not always find a perfect situation. So whatever situation we are in, we try to make the best use of it. That is the principle we should follow. So at home, yes, there you may not have all the facilities that you need. The positive environment may not be there. It could be because of various reasons. Whatever best you can do. There are certain things you can always do. So whatever best you can do. Because you can always find some place where you can read something. So we can read, no problem. If you have some separate space where you can chant, if parents don't permit or there is something like that, or if they know that you chant and they're comfortable with it, that's okay. If not, then also, because just like, you see, students at home do many things which parents may not like them to do. And they find a place to do that, they find time to do that. On internet, on WhatsApp, and so many other things they may be doing which may not be in the knowledge of parents. And if parents probably know, they may object. But because the children want to do that, so they find some way to do it. So main thing is that desire, whether I want to do it. See, if I have a desire, I want to chant 2 rounds or 4 rounds, whatever I have every day. I will try to find that particular time when I can, during our day, when I have some peaceful place and where no distractions, others are busy in their activities. I will chant during that time. Sometime when I can read something. So this is how we should do. We don't have the positive environment may not always be there in every place. But if I have a desire, I will have to create an atmosphere around myself.
everything may not be ideal, but I can still do many things. Just like I gave the example that if I want to do, children want to do many things, they do, without, even if parents may not allow all those things. So I hope that helps. And we should stay in touch with our senior devotees, students who have been practicing, like mentors, we can say. So they guide us what we should do. So here we are now being asked to do some very, very rigorous things, simple things, finding some time for chant, some time for chanting, and some time for reading, and attending some classes. This is what we continue when we are at home. When we come to college, we have more time, more facilities, we do more. Okay, next question. So the first question, is that okay? And I hope, because it was a direct question to me, so I have answered it without naming the student. Next one. I want to ask, when somebody commits a sin without knowing about the correct regulative principles stated in Bhagavad Gita, will he have to suffer from harsh consequences? For example, in Islam, meat eating is not prohibited. We know that a person who takes non-vegetarian food have very less devotion, compassion in his heart. So many people in different religions like Christianity, Islam, even in Hinduism, people still claim themselves as they pray to God and do devotional service like prayers in church, namaz, in masjid. According to you, what should be our ultimate dharma to live our life? Because there is so much confusion in this material world. Yes. There are many people who do these kind of things in the name of religion. In Islam also, there are places where this has been prohibited. But that is how they interpret. Like in Christianity, Prabhupada always debated this thing. One of the 10 commandments says that thou shalt not kill. That's, I think, out of the 10, that's the 7th one, probably. Thou shalt not kill. But this is very clear. But the way they interpret it is say, thou shalt not murder. So they apply that statement only for human beings and not for other living entities. So this is their explanation. Same thing is in Quran. So people, based on their intelligence, they interpret. Why just say Islam and Christianity? There's so many in Hindus who claim to be Hindus and they are big meat eaters. So there are people like that because their consciousness is very low and they are unable to think at this high level. Just like in the modern education, you see, not everybody can understand the deeper laws of science, how things are working. Most of the people, they like, say, for example, today, everybody is using internet, everybody is using mobile phones. But how many know how things work? They only know you put this button and switch and that's all. This is how it works. But the whole technology behind this, how the whole communication is happening, most of the people cannot. But there are few, very few, like those who are studying engineering, technology, they can understand a little bit of it. And then there are more others who are doing deep research in this area, they can understand more. Similarly, there are principles in life, higher principles, lower principles, like that. There is a whole spectrum from the very low level to a very high level. And there are people with that different levels of consciousness. So
some will be there who will understand the higher principles. The higher principle is definitely to be very compassionate, and that does not permit causing any undue violence to others. Of course, just like we don't want whatever we don't want to happen to ourselves, we should not do it to others. Common sense. So we should not worry about all these other things that are there, because there are different things. Number one, there are two things you should understand here. There is, of course, a whole range of principles that have been explained in our scriptures. Meat eating is also prescribed in our scriptures, also in Vedas and other places, but that is there in a very restrictive and very specific conditions. And there are a lot of rules and regulations around it. And many of those things, those prescriptions are there for other ages. They are not for this age. In this age also, where some things are there, that will be very, very few people who just can't get out of it. But not for advanced people, not for those who want to grow in spiritual life. So lower principles, higher principles, like this, we have many things. So that is one aspect. Second thing is, those principles are interpreted inappropriately by different people to suit their needs. That is another problem we have in the world. Just like in Christianity, thou shalt not kill, they interpreted that this applies. It doesn't say in Bible that it applies only to humans and not to animals. That is their interpretation, and that they use it to kill animals. It has grown over, it has developed, this kind of understanding has developed over years. But there are many Christians who do follow that one should not kill. But they will be very rare, very few. So your question is, what should be our ultimate dharma? This philosophy of Krishna consciousness is a very high level of philosophy. If we follow these principles, then everything else is already automatically done. We should not get confused with that. Somebody who is following a higher dharma, then why he need to worry about what other lower level things are there? Just like you are all studying IIT. So why do you need to worry about those who are studying BSc, BA, and many other courses are there? Why you need to bother about that? You are already doing your graduation in a very good way. So in this way, should not be any confusion.
Thank you, sir.
Can spiritual, next question is, can spiritual, so that is Vishal Pandey. Is that okay? Where are you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Completely okay. I understood.
Hare Krishna. Next question
Hare
is,
Krishna, sir.
can spirituality can change our root nature or svabhava, which can be known from astrology? I mean to say that whether can be there a permanent or everlasting change in our behavior or nature. So let me tell you, number one, astrology, whatever it predicts, it's not going to predict our root nature. It predicts the nature that we have acquired because of our past lives. So because of our past lives and desires, we ended our last life in a certain state. And we have got into this life. So based on our past life, we are born in a certain place at certain time, certain parents under certain constellations like that. So that the whole arrangement of constellations and the place and time, this kind of captures to a good degree the state that we were in the last life. So that is not our root nature. In the previous life when we started, our state of the previous to previous may have been different. We changed during the course of previous life, and that's where we came here. Now in this life we are going, we end our life at some point, and then again when we are born, so that the astrological chart at that time will capture where we end this life. So that is going to change.
That's not our root nature, number one. Because everybody's root nature is actually that everyone is part and parcel of Krishna. All living entities are part and parcel of Krishna, and they are meant to engage in his service. Jivana Swarupahaya Krishnera Nityadas, that is the root nature. So astrology is only going to predict basically what our past karma was. Based on that, what we are supposed to get, what kind of nature we have acquired because of that. So spirituality can definitely change it. Definitely change it. So as we grow in our spiritual life, so many things will change. Certain habits that we have acquired from past lives may take time. It may not happen immediately. So we may have certain nature, but that nature is not our root nature. It's just that it's there very deep in our heart. So deep conditioning is there. So it's taking time to change it. But that has nothing to do with our root nature. Root nature, everybody's root nature is completely spiritual in relationship with the Lord. There also variations will be there, but that root nature will be revealed to us in due course of time with the practice of our spiritual life. That is called our original pure Swabhava, pure nature. So that is our eternal nature. So eternal form, you can say. So that gets revealed in the course of our spiritual life after we have progressed sufficiently. So is that okay, Rajiv?
Yeah, thank you for the correction. Actually, I typed it wrong. Like the root nature is, you said very correctly, sir. And regarding the explanation you gave initially, it's quite good, sir. Yeah, I'm.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. So next question is, what should be our attitude towards non-believers or atheists? Because to instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name is mentioned to be an offense in Padma Purana. So our attitude towards everybody should be an attitude of friendship. We should not have enmity or envious nature towards anybody. But if there are people who are non-believers or atheists, so we can just ignore them if they are not ready to listen. But if they are non-believers, but they are willing to listen, they are kind of open. There are some people who may not be, who may be atheists. They may say, I don't believe, but they may be open for discussion. And they don't have any ill feelings towards someone who is practicing a spiritual life. I have met many people like that, who themselves may not be practicing, but they don't have any problem with you practicing. So to such people, if they want to engage in some positive discussion, that is okay. We can discuss certain things with them. Not everything, but the basics we can discuss. And if we see that they are able to appreciate those basics, then we can go to next steps. Now coming to this point of instructing a faithless person about the glories of the holy name, yes, we do. When we meet an atheist or a faithless person, we don't have to start glorifying the holy name to that person. There's a difference between instructing about the glories of the holy name and instructing about the holy name. These two are different things. Instructing about the holy name is simple. That we can tell anybody. There is no problem with that. Instructing about holy name means simply saying that we are all spiritual beings, different from this body, but we are in this body because of the dirty nature in our heart we have. And in order to cleanse our heart so that we can live a happy life, we have a process that is chanting the name of God. We are all part and parcel of God. The basic Krishna conscious philosophy, which we can put in 5-6 sentences. So we can give that basis and then say that in order to cleanse our heart and develop a loving relationship with God, we chant the names of God. This is called instructing a person about the holy name. But instructing about the glories of the holy name means glorifying the holy name, where we say, oh,
chanting one name of God can kill so many sins that one can never possibly commit. It's even a person who is chanting the holy name of the Lord is even higher than the positions of the demigods and Brahma and like that. So this is all true, but to a person who is very new, he may not have that sufficient faith to be able to appreciate such kind of explanations. So we don't tell these things to that person. Rather, we simply say, this is the process, and we encourage them to chant, or we are chanting and we invite them to hear. We go for some Sankirtan, they hear. This is all fine. There is no offense in that. So I hope that is clear. Alok.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Sir, actually, I was taking the wrong meaning of instructing the holy name. I was confusing it with telling about holy name and the glories of holy name. Thank you.
Okay, it's clear now, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now there's one more here. How to manage material studies and spiritual studies. Generally, we see that when we enter into spiritual studies, we lose interest in studying material subjects. And it is also said that we will zero our material desires to advance in a spiritual path, right? Then how to manage these two studies? Yes. So this is something that I think question related to everyone. We should not become fanatic. We should gradually grow and let things happen naturally. So we should not like, okay, day one we come and we hear that, oh, this material world is all temporary and this and that. What is the use of studying? So then we stop all those things. Because this is something that we have just heard and very quickly we have taken a decision. So that will not last for long. We are here in this material world and we have come here because we wanted to come here, and we are conditioned with so many things. So we should not give up our material duties. There are verses in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says that, in 3rd chapter now, where he says that everyone is forced to act according to one's nature. One cannot give it up. So we should know that this is our duty at this time. And we continue to perform our duty, whether we like it or we don't like it. At the same time, continue to develop a spiritual understanding. Even though we know that, yes, this studying the material subjects is material thing, is temporary, but still, that is my duty at this time. It will be very immature to take a decision like that and not give sufficient attention and time to our academics. So that is where the balance comes. And balance is always difficult. It's very easy to go on one side or the other, right? It's very easy to just get totally absorbed in material things. It's very easy also sometimes to fanatically take a very extremist spiritual stand. Just like to walk on a very narrow path is always difficult. You have to be very focused and balanced. So that is how we have to go through during all the years. You go through your academics, studies, and probably your job later on, or your profession, whatever you need to do, and let your spiritual life continue in parallel. So in this way, you continue your life, and at some point where you feel sufficiently, you say, advanced, or when there is a lot of clarity and you have taken care of your material responsibilities, at that time, if you feel that you need to devote full time for spiritual life, the time should come later on, but definitely not at this time. So your balance is required. That is why you should dedicate times for everything. You should have a proper schedule of the day when you are going to study your mathematics or physics or whatever other your engineering courses, and a specific time when you are studying Bhagavad Gita. Do not intermingle them. So whatever you need to do at a particular time, do that at that time. Chanting time, chanting. Study time, Bhagavad Gita study time, Bhagavad Gita study.
your regular courses, study times, you should have a timetable of the day. Just like you have a timetable for your classes for IIT, and rest of the time is up to you to have a timetable. So we, all of you should definitely have a timetable and try to follow that timetable. And if we do that in a very regulated manner that will require determination and effort, you will see that your life becomes very, very, very clear. You will have no doubts, no confusion, and continue to do things properly. And know for sure that these kind of things will happen, where sometimes you might feel like or doing this, sometimes you will not feel like. That happens with everybody. Even now, having been in Krishna consciousness for so many years, I also face situations like this many times, where I may like to do, I may not, but I have a duty. Like I'm a householder, a married person. I have my daughter, I have my wife, my parents. So I have to take care of them. That is my responsibility. I can't say, oh, I don't feel like, so I don't do it. So I have to do that. And you can also understand that you have been put in this situation by the arrangement of your past karma and by the arrangement of God. So this is the time you are here to take care of your academics in IIT Kanpur, and you try to do that duty nicely, while at the same time you balance your spiritual life. So you take your, the one good thing here is, one good suggestion is to consider that even these material things that you are studying, this is also, at this time, this is your service to God. Because that is how the situation we have been put in right now. So that is also my service. Take it in that way, so that you are doing it also to please Krishna. With that thought, because at this time, this is there. Once you complete your graduation in IIT, then what next, that can be discussed later on. So we should not become lenient with our studies, but at the same time, we should not be negligent towards our spiritual life. So I will always say it's a balance between the two is the key. All right, Chandan.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. You have nicely explained.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Now, next is yesterday, while doing book distribution in a train, one person practicing Islam asked me that I want to read Gita. I gave him Gita Sar and tried to talk what should be our approach towards such person. However, I did not ask him any donation as our station came. So I think if you gave him Gita Sar and tried to talk, that is the right thing to do. So Krishna consciousness, we don't discriminate whether somebody is Islam or Christian or anything. Anyone who is willing to listen, we go and talk to them. And if somebody approaches us and asks to know about Gita, then we should definitely do that. This Krishna consciousness is above all religions, Hindu, Christianity, Islam, or anything. This is the religion of the soul. So every living entity has a right to perform devotional service. So in whatever way we can, but we should not get into unnecessary arguments which may lead to unnecessary conflict, because there may be many people practicing other religions and they may be in a fighting mood or arguing mood and unnecessarily. So we should try to avoid that. But if someone is open-minded and is willing to listen, then we should be open to that person and talk to them. But in a very respectful manner, while speaking to them, knowing that they are practicing Islam, we should not criticize their religious practices. Rather, we should just positively present what Krishna consciousness has to say. And most of the Krishna conscious principles are very, not in conflict with any other religious religion. We should talk about the principles, not first, and not about the ritualistic things or other do's and don'ts. Like, don't start a conversation with someone saying that, oh, we don't eat onion and garlic. Krishna consciousness means we don't do smoking. Don't start the conversation with this. We start the conversation with that we are all spiritual souls. We are not this body. And we are part and parcel of the Supreme God. And he is a very loving and caring person. Our duty is to love him. So those are the kind of things that we talk. That is our philosophy. And now once that is clear, then how to get there, then there is a process. In that process, there are some do's and don'ts that every process has. Everywhere we have some do's and don'ts. Do's are there to help us grow, and don'ts are there to prevent us from falling down. And that is there in every walk of life. Even on traffic rules, there are some do's and don'ts. In IIT Kanpur, also you have a list of do's and don'ts in your code of conduct. You go for any business, any corporate, any government job, there are some do's and don'ts. Similarly, in a spiritual life we have. And that is where if the discussion comes to that, then we talk about what are the, and then also talk first what are the do's, that we chant the holy names, we read Bhagavad Gita, whatever we eat, we offer to God and then eat. Talk about these things first. And then comes the what we don't do. That should come later. So if we have a conversation in this direction, I think most people will appreciate. Because there is no criticism of any other religion. We are only talking positively and people can relate and appreciate. So this will be a nice way to go forward, I think. Is that okay, Abhishek? Okay, I don't know if Abhishek is still there. Okay, he's writing. Thank you. So that's, I think I am done here. The questions.
Yes. So thank you very much, Prabhu, for a wonderful session. So today's topic was very interesting. Recently, we students completed their midterm exams, and since the semester is online, so all the students are complaining that this semester is very hectic. We are not able to give much time. There are many of them, they are not able to attend morning sessions, and some of them they were saying that maybe probably we can invest this time in studying more or solving assignments, and then we can do better in our exams. So thank you very much, Prabhu. Very nicely you put all these points that we have different aspects. We have gross body, we have subtle aspect. Then it's not that we never says that let me sleep less than let me study more, or instead of just eating, invest that time for studying, right? We never do that. So similarly, we have the subtle aspect, and purification heart is very much essential. And once we do that, then we can feel that inner joy. Otherwise, this lust, greed, anger, they will be devouring us. So thank you very much, Prabhu, for bringing all these wonderful points very nicely and in well organized way. And your question answer sessions is also very nice, to the point answer to all the questions. Thank you very much, Prabhu, for your wonderful association. After a long time, we got your association, Prabhu. I think in past 2 weeks, your health was not good. So we were trying, but finally this day came. So thank you very much, Prabhu, for taking out time for all the students. So students, from today's attendance, you can see that students are very much inspired from your lecture, and they really want to get your association and hear from you. So I think that this must have motivated all the students. So we look forward your active participation in every day's morning sessions. So every day morning, 6 o'clock, we gather together for chanting session. So as Harikeshwar sir has pointed out, it is very much essential to focus or dedicate some time for purification of our heart. So this is very much apt or very much important to dedicate our morning time. So morning time is in goodness. So that will be really nice, wonderful, out of the world experience for all of you. So kindly, due to midterm, your schedule must have gone here and there, but now it's time to get back to our own regular schedule and try to attend those sessions. Sorry, Pro, I could not turn on my video because here power has gone. But so I would really like to thank you for your inspiring words, and we are looking forward for more such inspiring talks.
Thank you very much, and hope to see you again whenever Krishna will. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, sir.
I will leave now. Huh?
Yeah. So Dheeraj Prabhu, we can stop here.